Welcome to Dreamland Chronicles. I'm your host, Noah. Thank you for choosing to join us. Before we begin, find a comfortable position, set aside all your tasks, and let's enter a state of tranquility together. Firstly, let's take a deep breath together. Inhale slowly, then exhale gently. Repeat a few times, allowing your breath to become deeper and more rhythmic. Now, use your senses to feel every part of your body. From head to toe, notice any tension or discomfort. Just acknowledge their presence without striving to change them. As you continue to breathe deeply, let's alleviate the tension in your body by gradually relaxing your muscles. Starting from the head, moving downward, gently release each muscle. Feel that comfortable, light sensation, as if an invisible, comforting hand is gently embracing you. Shift your attention to your thoughts. Don't strive to eliminate them. Just let them quietly float by, like clouds drifting in the sky. You are merely an observer, unaffected by these thoughts. Let's take another deep breath, absorbing tranquility and peaceful energy. In this moment, you are safe, serene, and anything can wait until tomorrow. Thank you for participating in tonight's scientific relaxation moment. May you have a peaceful night and sweet dreams. Now, as you drift toward sleep, I'll hand the microphone over to Nicole to tell us a story.
Long, long ago, when gods, goddesses, animals, and humans shared the earth, there was no concept of day or night. This doesn't mean there was no distinction between light and darkness, but the two could not coexist in the same place simultaneously. On the land, it was perpetual daylight, with the sun always shining brightly. Humans and animals lived on the land, never resting. Meanwhile, darkness had its place in the deep oceanic waters, in the abyss and beneath the coral reefs. Life in the ocean thrived in vibrant colors, and fish and other marine creatures happily lived without the need for sunlight. In fact, they enjoyed the darkness and tranquility that were prevalent in the ocean. In the oceanic realm, all beings were under the rule of the Serpent King, whose wisdom maintained the eternal patterns of the ocean, and the cycle of life always followed its intended course. He did not provoke the sunlit humans on the land. They only took what they needed from the sea to sustain their existence. Thus, darkness and light coexisted, never swapping places, with darkness bound to the waters and light bound to the land. The Serpent King had a remarkably beautiful daughter, whose beauty was renowned beyond his kingdom. One day, the king of the land heard about the beauty of the Serpent Princess and vowed to seek her hand. He set sail, carrying a bag of shining gems found only underground. He hoped that this precious gemstone gift would win the favor of the Serpent Princess and her father. When he was almost out of sight of the shore, floating in the deep waters, the king of the land opened his treasure bag and poured the gems into the ocean one by one. The earthly gemstones descended into the depths of the water, leaving an impression on the Serpent King. With his permission, the Serpent Princess swam to the ship of the Land King to thank him for his gift. The king saw that her beauty was not exaggerated. She had long flowing hair, eyes as blue-green as the ocean, lovelier than any woman. The Serpent Princess, in turn, was deeply drawn to the Land King, who had a handsome face and eyes brown like the earth. She fell in love with him and agreed to become his wife. The Serpent King watched as his daughter left the ocean, leaving his kingdom, but he believed that this man was trustworthy. He blessed her marriage to the king of the land, living with him under the sunlight. Their wedding took place on the seashore, where the oceanic waters met the warm, dry sands. Marine creatures observed from the colorful coral reefs, dolphins celebrated in the water, and hummingbirds and parrots on the beach cheered for the new queen. The majestic jaguars silently approved from the sidelines. After the wedding, the king accompanied his oceanic bride through lush green jungles to his palace bathed in sunlight. On the way, the queen was captivated by the wildlife of this world. In this bright world, monkeys frolicked through the treetops, sloths curiously observed from branches, and anteaters and armadillos crawled along the ground. The queen was enchanted by every creature in her new dazzling home. The king was a kind and just man. Initially, the bride was delighted to live with him in his magnificent palace. The palace was built to worship the sun, with high arched windows and spacious balconies allowing light to enter from all directions. The golden walls and floors retained the warmth of the beach sunlight and reflected its brightness. It was a house without shadows. However, as time passed, she began to tire of the endless brightness of the new world. Until now, her entire life had been spent in the cool darkness of the ocean, but now, her cheeks gradually lost their color, as if bleached by the sun. The sands of the land seemed to make her radiance dry and dull. Although she did not complain, her husband noticed her decline and became very worried. He asked her what he could do to make her happy. "I long for darkness," she said. "I need to leave this daylight, even if only for a brief time. If the sun could disappear temporarily, I could rest." The king was troubled by this issue and convened his wise men to advise him. "You cannot drive away the sun," the wise men said, "so you must fetch some darkness from the ocean to bring to her. Darkness cannot be found on this land, it can only be found in the ocean." It was a good solution, and the king gathered his 3 most loyal servants, giving them a large empty cloth bag and a bag of shiny gemstones. "Go to the seashore where we got married," he told them, "then row the boat far out until the water is deep, almost out of sight of the shore. When you reach that place, open the gemstone bag and pour the gems into the ocean. The Serpent King will come to you, and you can ask him for some darkness for his daughter." The servants agreed, but the king warned them, "When you have the bag of darkness, do not open it. Return to the beach and bring the bag directly to the queen through the jungle. It's crucial that you follow my instructions." The servants agreed again, and they set off with the gemstones and the empty cloth bag to the point where the ocean met the land. The servants headed straight for the water, keeping a close eye on the gemstone bag. They found a boat, took turns rowing, going far until the land was almost out of sight on the horizon. When they collectively believed they were floating in the deep waters, they opened the gemstone bag. They poured the gems into the salty waves. Rubies, emeralds, and diamonds glittered in the sunlight, then sank into the cool blue depths. When the gems disappeared, the servants feared their efforts were in vain, and the gems were wasted. But eventually, they saw a blurry figure emerging from the depths, gradually growing larger in the ripples. The Serpent King quickly appeared above their small boat, his enormous form shimmering with iridescent scales on the sandy beach. With a deep voice, he asked them what they wanted from him. One of the servants explained. "We were sent by the king of the land," he said. "He told us that your daughter longs for shadows, withering in the perpetual bright daylight. The king asks you to fill this empty cloth bag with the darkness of the ocean so we can bring it to her." The servants anxiously awaited the Serpent King's response, holding the bag at the side of the boat. "I am saddened to hear of my daughter's sorrow," the Serpent King said. "I will fill this bag and return it to you. Wait here." With that, he took the bag from the hands of the servants and submerged into the water again, leaving behind a small splash. The Serpent King descended into the water. He went down from the shallower turquoise waters, approaching the surface. Passing through the vibrant and colorful fish, he reached the ink-black abyss. Behind him, small bubbles rose, ascending to the water's surface. Finally, he arrived at the darkest and most tranquil place in his kingdom, near the ocean floor. He opened the bag, choosing the soothing enthroned cormorant waters and placing some small creatures and shade-seeking plants into it. With love, he carefully tied up the bag, securing it tightly. Rising again, he traversed the heroically smooth black waters, the color shifting from inky shadows to deep blue. Once more passing through the colorful fish, he surfaced and came to the side of the small boat. The servants awaited there, rising from the water. He handed them the now heavy and full bag, saying, "Take this back to my daughter so she can rest. But do not open it, it is crucial." The Serpent King turned and submerged into the water after giving them the bag. They watched as he became smaller and disappeared into the distance. Within seconds, all they could see were some bubbles surfacing. The servants began their long journey back to the shore, taking turns rowing. But all of them kept a close eye on the mysterious bag beneath their feet. Indeed, the bag seemed to be filled with something, moving on its own at times, occasionally making splashing or rustling sounds. Every so often, they felt animal noises emanating from within, and being land dwellers all their lives, these unfamiliar sounds piqued their curiosity. They maintained a considerable pace while rowing, eager to reach the shore as quickly as possible. The bag containing the unknown darkness heightened their unease. Eventually, the land appeared, and they returned to the sparkling white and yellow sands, pulling the boat out of the water. They walked onto the beach and then turned to look at the boat, wondering who would carry the bag. They agreed to take turns, with two carrying it together and the third walking behind, ensuring nothing spilled out. They began the long trek back to the palace, cutting through the rainforest, slowly progressing under nut trees and palms. After a while, they switched positions and continued forward. As time passed, they grew more and more anxious. The bag seemed to have a life of its own, emitting strange sounds or movements. At some point, one servant carrying the bag accidentally dropped it. When this happened, the knot came loose, and the top of the bag opened. The three servants didn't know what to do. They nervously jumped away from the path. The bag lay on its side. Rather than picking it up and readying the knot, they recoiled as they watched a dark cloud rise and escape from the opening. First, it trickled out in a fine stream, then pushed the opening wider until large enough for everything inside the bag to pour out. The three men cowered on the path, first hearing splashing, then a rushing sound, followed by faint cries swirling above their heads and then dispersing. They had lost the precious cargo, and the men grabbed the empty bag, running in the direction of the palace. Behind them, the Serpent King's dark gift spread in various directions through the rainforest. Meanwhile, the queen lay in her room at the palace, shielding her eyes from the sunlight. She lay on a soft bed, but she couldn't relax. When she longed for sleep, there was a strange sensation, a shadow cast around her. Removing her hands from her eyes, she sat up and stared at the horizon beyond the corridor. The strangest thing was happening. A dark cloud was rising and expanding from the forest, moving in her direction, leaving shadows in its wake. In the darkest part of the cloud was an advancing twilight. Wherever the cloud moved, the dusk spread. The queen recognized what she had yearned for, and she felt joy, eager for it to arrive as quickly as possible. She stepped onto the balcony, reaching out with both hands toward the approaching twilight. When the dusk fell on the balcony, she welcomed its cool embrace, like meeting a long-lost friend. She felt so comforted to be liberated from the constraints of the day, a deep sense of happiness filling her entire being. Returning to her bed, she curled up comfortably, her head sinking into the pillow, now no longer lying awake. She drifted into the deepest and most satisfying sleep, finally able to rest. After the disappearance of the daylight, the servants felt deeply ashamed, expressing sincere apologies to the king for opening the back of darkness. The Serpent King told them it was true. They couldn't control what was inside, those unfamiliar and wild elements from the oceanic realm scattered across the land, transforming into new creatures and embracing both night and day. So, the Serpent King's dark gift became the nocturnal creatures of the rainforest, and all the plants and beings that thrived in the darkness found their existence on the land. Now, the people on the land had both day and night, learning to use the darkness as a time for rest, just like their queen from the ocean. They discovered that a little nightly rest could make their days more enjoyable. As for the queen, with her new nocturnal rest, she regained her beauty and happiness. After the long walks through the sunny paths of her kingdom every day, she was grateful for the arrival of the night. Then, lying on a soft bed with snowy white linen, she closed her eyes, sailing into the beautiful ocean of dreams while the exotic sounds of nocturnal creatures drifted through her window. And that is how the night came to be.